Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
Concerns about public health in two Bahamian islands in the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Friday, September 6th. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Ricardo Roberts. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. As cleanup begins from the destruction caused by Hurricane Dorian, the affairs public health could be compromised. On the Abaco Islands, the storm not only decimated structures, but raised concerns that extensive flooding has contaminated wells with seawater, creating an urgent need for clean water. And hurricane survivors who lost their homes set up makeshift shelters with no access to proper facilities. Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands says after a hurricane, the initial challenge is traumatic, but says after that initial stage has passed, the next phase is to deal with preventing the outbreak of diseases. He says if the island does not manage this phase correctly, it will become a huge problem. The health minister says so far there have been no reports of any outbreaks. Sands says for that reason, the government has accepted the help from the PAHO disaster relief team to ensure the response is timely. However, he says so far there have been some challenges.
Issue of removal of dead animals and human remains is a very important part of the public health approach. However, there are serious logistic challenges. For those of you who have seen the state of some of the areas around Marsh Harbor, you realize that it's not such a simple thing because you physically cannot even get to the center of, let's say, a community like the Mud or Pigeon Peak without special equipment, without heavy-duty trucks, and so on and so forth. And so until those things are available, this is going to be a challenge.
Just for the record, has there been any...
Meantime, the Prime Minister announced Friday that government is offering free flights to New Providence for Abaco residents. His announcement came a day after he said he would meet with Cabinet about a possible evacuation plan for those in Abaco and Grand Bahama who wanted to leave the hurricane-hit islands. Minnis made the announcement of the free flights as he spoke to a group of Abaco residents gathered at the airport in Treasure Cay on Friday. The Prime Minister even offered to fly some of the children in Abaco on his plane.
We'll be moving in and out to remove you back to Nassau. There'll be no charge. Government will move you back and forth. We will have accommodations, we're arranging accommodations for you so that you can be placed. But also, the Minister of Education is also organizing the schools for the children so that we can have their education continuous. But just be patient with us. We're trying to do our best and move you all out as quick as possible. Okay? Now, when I'm going back, if anybody can sit on my plane, I will carry only the kids. I will personally ensure that they're okay until their parents arrive.
And as the Caribbean community continues to lend support to the Bahamas, several regional leaders got a first-hand look at the devastation on Thursday, and they pledged to do whatever they can to assist those affected.
They were really here on a multiple of levels, obviously as prime ministers of our own individual countries, and then part of the OECS, and then the wider CARICOM. And that when we have these difficult times, that we must share in our experiences.
CARICOM Community Chairman and Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Alan Chasnett, and other CARICOM leaders that included Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley, Caribbean Tourism Organization, or CTO Chairman, and St. Lucia's Minister for Tourism, Dominic Fide, Secretary General of CARICOM, Ambassador Erwin LaRocque, and the Executive Director of the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, or CDEMA, Ronald Jackson. The delegation arrived at the Odyssey Airport and was received by the Minister of Education, the Honorable Jeffrey Lloyd, and the Minister of National Security, the Honorable Marvin Dames.
I mean, obviously in the Eastern Caribbean, with Dominica and the BVI 2 years ago, we've accumulated a tremendous amount of experience, and that's why we're so lucky to have CDEMA, in which we can constantly be able to help us stay ahead of where we're going. We're also here, obviously, as chairman of CARICOM, to bring the support of not only the individual countries, but also of the institutions that we have. And so that Bahamas and the citizens of Bahamas should know they're not in this by themselves, that we are collectively here together.
Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley said it was distressing to see the damage left in Grand Bahama and Abaco following Hurricane Dorian.
I call the last 2 weekends the tale of Dorian, because you will recall that this Sunday and Monday it hit you, but the Sunday and Monday before it started with us. And therefore the people of Barbados feel particularly sensitive to what is going on here in the Bahamas, because they themselves know that but for the grace of God goes I. And we have come to see how we can assist.
Executive Director of CDEMA, Ronald Jackson, says an assessment team was already on the ground.
We've been here since Saturday, forward deployed to support the NEMA NUC with plans and arrangements, but also to commence a rapid assessment to identify the priority needs. Now I think we have a fair handle on that. We're currently deploying a logistics hub to assist with relief operations. We're also looking at damage assessment and support for early recovery, as well as coordinating relief to the affected island.
Meantime, Trinidad and Tobago says it will be giving the Bahamas $500,000 US, along with technical and tactical assistance. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley announced that the details of the aid at a post-cabinet media briefing on Thursday. More in this TV6 News report.
The country has already received immediate relief supplies and ground help from the United States, humanitarian organizations and corporate entities tied to its shores. But Prime Minister Rowley says the recovery will take some time and TNT can help with manpower.
The Minister of National Security has been instructed to work with the Chief of Defense Staff and make available to the government of Bahamas for their direction and use immediately 100 persons from our defense force, and that is to be done as quickly as the logistics would permit.
The Bahamas has been experiencing major power outages. New Providence, the most populous island, has been without power since Dorian unleashed its fury on Monday. This has hindered recovery efforts, but it's also an area where TNT possesses expertise.
We have agreed to make available to the Bahamas a number, starting with about 7 technical people from TNTech, to go to the Bahamas and work with the Bahamas government and agencies on the subject of restoration of power. We may increase that number as the circumstances become better known to us. Additionally, the Cabinet has agreed to make available to the government of Bahamas $500,000 US to pay for some of the expenses that they will have to pay for now, not the least of which is medical supplies.
Dr. Rowley could not immediately say from where the funds would be taken, but as a country, he says, we are to be our brother's keeper.
You're watching Caribbean Newsline. The Antigua and Barbuda government has confirmed that negotiations with Barbados to buy most of its stake in regional airline Liat has been suspended. The government is seeking to become the largest shareholder government of the airline, which is based in the Twin Island nation. Now, the other shareholder governments are Dominica, St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Grenada. A statement issued after the weekly cabinet meeting in Antigua said negotiations were put on hold as a result of a number of events in Antigua as well as Barbados, and by the counter-offer made by Barbados, which Antigua rejected. The statement did not give details about the events holding up the talks. No date has been set for the resumption of negotiations. Back in July, Prime Minister Gaston Brown said Barbados' $44 million asking price was too steep. Antigua and Barbuda currently holds 34% of LIAT's shares, and if it succeeds in convincing Bridgetown to part with its stake, that would increase to 81% and make the Antigua and Barbuda government the single largest shareholder. Still to come, a call for long-term plans to deal with the sargassum problem in Belize. Stay with us. More news after this.
Everyone pray for us.
It's probably the most saddened and worst day of my life to address the Bahamian people.
It's not good. Many people are dead. There's nothing on the island.
We need help. We need help.
In the aftermath of death and destruction caused by Hurricane Dorian, all Caribbean friends need our help.
The Great Abaco Islands and Grand Bahama, among others in the Bahamas, have experienced great devastation. We can help the Bahamas rise again.
The government, the people, and the media of Barbados join hands together in the Rise Again Bahamas Mediathon. Give Barbados our opportunity to help.
This Sunday, September 8th, 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. We want you to make a pledge and give generously. Tune into CBC TV 8, radio and social media all across Barbados in this fundraising effort as we join hands
to help the Bahamas
to rise again.
To rise again.
Welcome back. Over in Belize, a recently formed sargassum task force is calling for a long-term plan to prevent further damage to the environment and the economy. Chief Environmental Officer Martin Aguilera says Algeria says the seaweed remains on several beaches in the areas of Palencia and San Pedro, and it's damaging the ecosystem.
Right now, with the small amounts, quote-unquote small amounts coming on mainland Belize, for example, compared to Mexico, that's huge, but in Belize, even the little amount that we are experiencing is costly, very costly, prohibitive sometimes to address. Imagine what would happen 5-10 years from now when the temperatures, God forbid, raises more, and you have more blooms and more tons coming on stream in more frequent. Right now we have lulls. It depends on the northerlies or easterly flow. In the next 10-20 years, if we continue the way we are, these algae bloom, these sargassum bloom will be daily. And instead of you spending $1,000 to clean up your side of the beach on a weekly basis, it will be $10,000.
That was Chief Environmental Officer Martin Aguilera. The ongoing drought across the Caribbean is taking its toll on agriculture products. Farmers say their crops are drying up as a result of the lack of rainfall, and they are concerned about possible food shortages. But what they can do to safeguard their produce, one group of farmers in the parish of Portland in Jamaica has been learning new sustainable farming techniques that will help them survive the dry conditions. Marie Claire Williams has that story.
The hillside farmers in Portland are feeling the effects of the drought.
Well, the rains don't come as they used to.
And the Rural Agricultural Development Authority and the CTA have been showing them how to use contour barriers to preserve soil quality and moisture during the dry season.
Use the A-frame first to establish a contour line, and then we're going to do planting the pineapple plants by using the trial, which is a more organized and uniform method by using this. Right?
Here, the farmers are planting pineapples, which will serve as live barriers. Carmen Reed is a small farmer in Belcastle. She has been using the new techniques on her farm.
More often these days we have droughts, so we have to find other ways and means of trapping water. I do that by a lot of mulching, and then we make check dams, individual basins, trash barrier, and stone barrier in order to help us hold water for the extremely dry season.
Howard White has been a full-time farmer since 2014. He grows several crops, including plantains, cocoa, golden apples, and breadfruit. And he says the training is helping.
It's the way me farm. Really interested from the individual basin. Make it around the farm. We have my plants on a level for our farm on a hillside. Very steep.
Okay.
These are where I'm showing us. Really helpful to us. 100%.
Denise Reed is another mixed crop farmer. She says as the weather patterns have changed over the past few years, she too has had to change.
I decided to change the type of crops that I plant because I find out that the plantains and the bananas, they do come, but some of the time, by the time they're supposed to fit the trees down and you don't get that way it's supposed to full up, nice for marketing, you don't get it. And the reason why I could really survive, to be honest, I make chips with my plantains. So when the trees fall down, no matter how they're small, I can use them and peel them and make the chips because I sell to school, I sell to little shops and things like that.
Reed says she's confident that they will soon begin to reap benefits of their training. Marie-Claire Williams, CMC News.
And in this week's Newsline Entertainment, Rihanna pledges to help the islands of the Bahamas devastated by Hurricane Dorian. Jacquio's latest album tops the Billboard reggae charts, and we shine the spotlight on a Trinidadian cultural icon.
Rihanna is among celebrities who have pledged support for the Bahamas in the wake of the devastation caused by Category 5 Hurricane Dorian on the Abaco Islands and Grand Bahama. Earlier this week, the Barbadian songstress tweeted, "It truly breaks my heart to see the complete devastation that Hurricane Dorian is having on the Bahamas." She also said her Clara Lionel Foundation is exploring how best to help the victims. Jacquio's latest album, Royal Soldier, debuted at #1 on the Billboard Reggae Albums charts this week. It is a follow-up to his 2015 album, The Cure. Royal Sun is also Cure's 6th title and second #1 spot on the Billboard Reggae Albums charts. It features collaborations with a number of artists, including Damian Marley, Junior Reid, Capleton, and Popcorn. Over in Trinidad, one man has been working to keep the island's culture alive by passing on his love for stilt walking. Junior Bisnath has taken his talents to a number of countries, including the UK, Panama, and Zimbabwe. He has been teaching children the art of stilt walking for the past 25 years at his Kaisoka School of Arts.
History is something very important, and when people lost a history in our country, they will go anyhow, anyway. But people need to be a little more conscious, and we lack in that knowledge, that consciousness, that history, so people could feel proud about who they are and where it has so many people die in a struggle for us to be free, to be where we are today. and it's not been told.
One of his students, 16-year-old Dylan, says he enjoys the classes.
I just be here every day. It's not a day that I not here. Once you come here and you don't see me, something wrong. This is a very fun thing to do, and I advise to anybody to come and give it a try.
Mary-Claire Williams, Newsline Entertainment.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, Guyana Amazon Warriors begin their CPL campaign with a victory. Stay with us. Sport is next.
Everyone pray for us.
It's probably the most saddened and worst day of my life to address the Bahamian people.
It's not good. Many people are dead. There's nothing on the island.
We need help. We need help.
In the aftermath of death and destruction caused by Hurricane Dorian, all Caribbean friends need our help.
The Great Abaco Islands and Grand Bahama, among others in the Bahamas, have experienced great devastation. We can help the Bahamas rise again.
The government, the people, and the media of Barbados join hands together in the Rise Again Bahamas Mediathon. Give Barbados our opportunity to help.
This Sunday, September 8th, 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. We want you to make a pledge and give generously. Tune into CBC TV 8, radio and social media all across Barbados in this fundraising effort as we join hands
to help the Bahamas
to rise again.
To rise again.
Coming up on Caribbean Passport, highlights of a memorable CariFesta 14 in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago. The creativity of the Caribbean and all that the region has to offer was on full display. Celebrate our Festival of Arts as we strengthen the bond between us on Caribbean Passport, the CariFesta edition, right here on this station.
Guyana Amazon Warriors won their opening game in Match 2 of the Hero Caribbean Premier League in Georgetown on Thursday. Playing against St. Lucia Zouks at the Guyana National Stadium, the hosts team posted a modest total of 155 for 9 of their 20 overs. Homeboy Kimo Paul struck a 22-ball 38 for the 7th wicket, while Chris Green chipped in with 28. Left-arm medium pacer Obed McCoy was the pick of the bowlers with figures of 4 for 41, while Australian leg spinner Fawad Ahmed took 2 wickets for 25 runs. In reply, the Zouks wasted no time in putting runs on the board, with Rakeem Cornwall scoring a blistering 36, which included 6 boundaries in 8 balls. But the night belonged to spinners Shadab Khan and Chris Green, who claimed 5 wickets between them, restricting the visiting side's total to 142 for 9 in their 20 overs. Khan captured best bowling figures of 3 for 16, while Green had 2 wickets for 28 runs. Amazon Warriors winning the match by 13 runs. And of course, action in the CPL continues Friday evening in a face-off with Trinidad and Tobago Night Riders and Jamaica Talawas. They will play at the Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain. Over to the women's game, where West Indies captain Stephanie Taylor produced a well-played half-century, but it was in vain as the side suffered a 178-run defeat by Australia in their first one-day international in Antigua on Thursday. after a disastrous start to their innings when sent in to bat at the Coolidge Cricket Ground. The visitors mustered what was their highest ODI total of 308 for 4 from their allotted 50 overs. The Aussies lost a wicket on the very first ball before captain Meg Lanning and Alyssa Healy brought some stability back, which saw the pair posting a 224 runs partnership between them. Lanning scored a breathtaking 121, while Healy hit 122, her second ODI ton. Elise Perry chipped in with an unbeaten 33. Connell was the pick of the West Indies bowlers, finishing with 2 for 53. West Indies in their reply were restricted to 130 of 37.3 overs. Taylor scored an unbeaten 70 as the top scorer. To football news now, Jamaica's Reggae Boys are aiming for a strong start in their CONCACAF Nations League opener against Antigua on Friday. But TVJ's Simon Preston reports that head coach Theodore Tapper Whitmore isn't too happy.
Has our preview.
As the Reggae Boys get set to commence League B action in the CONCACAF Nations League, they will be without striker Corey Burke, who was among those called up to the squad for the upcoming games. Head coach Theodore Tapper Whitmore explains why.
Fact is that I'm not pleased with the situation, you know, and I've explained that to Corey Burke, so it has nothing to do, as I said before, I need players who are focused here, and I don't think Corey is focused. So
the squad will also be without Preston North End's attacking midfielder Daniel Johnson. Johnson's agent and former Reggae boy Darrell Powell refused to allow the player to travel as a direct flight to Montego Bay was not secured for the player. Shivani Willis, out of the Bethlehem Steel, has been called in as a replacement. But one player who will be part of Coach Whitmore's plans is 26-year-old Fulham FC forward Bobby Reid.
It was enjoyable. Nice to meet up with the lads for the first time. It's been a long time coming and I'm happy to be here and hopefully we can have a good campaign and get the nation and the country behind us.
With Jamaica needing to top the group to advance to League A, the goal is quite clear.
It's a game that we need to win. We need to work hard first and foremost, try to get the 3 points, and if we work together as a team and we play good football, then there's no reason why we can't win.
And that's Sports. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
A recap of the day's major developments: concerns about public health in the Bahamas in the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sports round the clock, subscribe to CaribNews.com. For more for our programming, log on to CaribVision.tv and check out our YouTube channel. We'll be back here again Monday. Good night.